This question comes from the neuroscience section of Ask Science on Reddit. Why do we sometimes have difficulty determining if something we are touching is hot or cold? Submitted 16 days ago by 10 kg value pack. Something, e.g. the exterior of a steel kettle that may or may not have been boiled recently, will clearly feel as if it is quite hot or quite cold, but initially I can't tell, so I will have to actively think about the sensation for a moment, or touch it with another body part, to work out which it is. Floor Troll replies, there are receptors in the skin called nociceptors, and these are responsible for signaling that a potentially damaging stimulus is being applied to the skin. The ones specific for dangerous temperatures respond to both extreme hot and cold sensations, so you perceive that there is an extreme temperature, but these receptors don't distinguish between hot and cold. Thermoreceptors are responsible for telling us whether we are touching something that is hot or cold, but they are maximally activated at relatively innocuous temperatures, e.g. maximal activation for cold thermoreceptors is at 20 to 30 degrees Celsius, and they are not as strongly activated at more threatening temperatures. Thus, the nociceptors are primarily active during the experience of extreme temperatures. However, it has been also observed that cold thermoreceptors fire in response to dangerously high temperatures, which can cause paradoxical cold. The same thing happens with heat thermoreceptors that respond to extreme cold temperatures, causing paradoxical hot. There's a good explanation of these receptors here, and then heat. There's a link. There's a link, and I'll put a link to this thread in my description. Yankee Fan 7847, tagged with Cognitive Neuroscience, says, this is correct. Also, we must factor in that our senses best respond to change. Thus, if your hands are of a similar temperature as the thing you're touching, you will have difficulty sensing how hot or cold it is. That's why a lot of times we must touch something of a different temperature and then come back to the thing we were trying to gauge to get the difference, or put it on a more sensitive, maybe colder part of our bodies to determine the difference. 10 kg value pack, who is the OP, says, thanks so much for the thorough explanation. Last comment comes from RP File, who says, in fact, there's an exhibit at the Exploratorium, and I'm sure other similar hands-on science museums, with a couple of copper tubes wound around a cylinder. One is a little warm, and the other is cold, and they are wrapped in such a way that the temperatures alternate. When you touch this lightly with the palm of your hand, the immediate sensation is that of a terrible burn, but if you grab on and hold it for a while, you eventually realize that it's not really burning you. Pretty fascinating neurohack. And then there's a link at the bottom to an Exploratorium website that you can go click on if you want to click on the Reddit link